Part 31. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 302. Lu Zhenjie didn't answer her question, but caught another point in her words. Why, the answer is different this time from last time. Why? Jinli only knew that he gave the answer as he wanted, and rarely thought about why he said it. Subconsciously, she didn't want to think about it, but Lu Zhenjie was still standing here waiting for her answer. She could only think about it and said, because, last time, we were just strangers who had nothing to do with each other, so we didn't need to spend any effort to reject you, and we didn't need to care about your feelings. But now. Lu Zhenjie looked at her steadfastly, with a smile spreading from his eyes bit by bit. He picked up her words, now, we are not strangers, you care about my feelings, don't you? Jinli frowned in confusion. The truth seems to be true, but why does it sound weird? Jinli looked at Lu Zhenjie, why do you ask this? Because I'm going to confess to you now, Jinli. Jinli's eyes widened suddenly, as if frightened, she took a step back and looked at Lu Zhenjie. I like you. Jinli really frowned now, and said in a puzzled tone, but I've already given my answer just now. You're still going to reject me, aren't you? Jinli nodded. Lu Zhenjie smiled, but I don't care. Jinli. Lu Zhenjie said softly, your life is very long, so long that it is close to eternity, but I am different. I only have a few decades. I have never been very considerate of others, and I have endured it for a long time. Because of Jinli's inexperienced temperament, he had been thinking that boiling frogs in warm water should be done slowly. Oh, it may be called warm boiled fish now. Slowly, she was able to drive away the flies around her little by little, and finally she was the only one left by her side. But now he knew that the thing between them was too powerful, so powerful that he had no time to wait for her to awaken. He looked at Jinli with rare sadness in his eyes. You have such a long time, can you divide it into several decades for me? Jinli blinked and said calmly, bitter tricks won't work for me. Lu Zhenjie. He sighed, thinking that the behavior taught in the book to soften a woman's heart is useless. Go back and complain. What a brick house. He regained his calm look, then let's not talk about bitter tricks, let's talk about serious business. Jinli? Didn't you just confess to me? Why are you getting involved in serious business again? Lu Zhenjie switched himself to working mode in a second. Then the IQ comes online. He calmly analyzed, after you came to buy Jinli, everything from winning the lottery to good luck charms, including the gifts you gave me and my sister, all proved one thing, you are not short of money. Jinli nodded, yes, she is indeed not short of money. Lu Zhenjie continued to analyze, but you still entered the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry is not a very fun place, and filming is also very tiring. From your daily life, you are a delicate and picky little fairy who loves to enjoy yourself. But these they all endured it? Jinli blinked at him. Lu Zhenjie smiled and came to a conclusion, so I guess, there is a reason why you have to stay in the entertainment industry. Or do you have a specific task? Or do you have to be popular? Or, you want to get specific things, such as, the power of faith. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 303. Jinli opened his eyes wide. She had never seen Lu Zhenjie like this. With such a calm, rational, and precise analysis, is the Lu Zhenjie he usually sees really alone? Jinli's reaction undoubtedly confirmed Lu Zhenjie's guess. He looked at Jinli, did I guess right? There's nothing you can't say, Jinli nodded, a little admiringly, you are amazing, I need to be popular so that more people like me. Lu Zhenjie nodded to himself with downcast eyes, then, we can make a deal. Jinli looked at Lu Zhenjie warily, I think the current situation is very good, there is no need for any deal. Lu Zhenjie shook his head. No, your situation is not good now. You didn't sign a contract with a film and television company, and your agent came from a small company, so he didn't have enough vision and courage to make decisions for you. Maybe with your own good enough, you can in the end, you can achieve what you want, but at least it will be twice as slow as having a professional team serve you professionally. Twice as slow? Jin Li was shamefully moved. Although the human world is not bad, but after all, the heaven is her home. It is of course good to be able to go back sooner. However, she looked at Lu Zhenjie inquiringly. What do you want? Lu Zhenjie didn't hide his purpose. Didn't I say it earlier, I like you? Jin Li had a headache, and she said, I said it too, I rejected you. Lu Zhenjie, this doesn't conflict with our deal. Lu Zhenjie rested his right hand on the back of the cool chair and tapped it twice. This was his usual movement when he was thinking. I'm a man who wants to pursue his sweetheart, and I'm also a businessman. Jin Li, this is a win-win deal. I spend money to support you, you become popular, and in the end, you gain fame and I gain profit. Isn't it good? Jin Li relaxed slightly. She enjoyed such straightforward conversations. In her opinion, having interests involved is much more reliable than any kind of love affair. She nodded, sounds very good. Lu Zhenjie smiled, but did not speak. No one understood how sad he was when he talked about his interests with his sweetheart. Jin Li said, I'll talk to Sister Cheng. But there's one thing I want to explain to you. Lu Zhenjie's eyes trembled. He probably understood what Jin Li was going to say. Sure enough, the next moment, Jin Li's serious tone rang in his ears. I rejected you before, now I reject you, and I will reject you in the same way in the future. You, take it easy. Lu Zhenjie sneered. He didn't know whether he was laughing at Jin Li or himself. Everyone says you are kind and cute, who has ever seen you so hard-hearted? Jin Li became serious in a rare way. I treat you as a friend, that's why I said such things to you. Lu Zhenjie waved his hand. I see, but Jin Li. He looked at her with the same serious tone. I liked you before, I like you now, and I will like you like this in the future. Jin Li. Kind of want to conjure up a tale and blow this annoying guy away. I know you don't have feelings for love affairs. But can you promise me that when you want to have a relationship, you will think about me first? This problem. Jin Li looked at him with some confusion, and said straightforwardly, but I swore before that I would find the second most beautiful woman in the world to fall in love with. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 304. Lu Zhenjie. He felt that he was a fool to talk about this topic with Jin Li. After falling into a suspicious silence for a second, the overlord decided to change the subject. I will ask someone to draw up a detailed plan and contract, and you will see if it is feasible then. This is acceptable. As long as we don't talk about feelings, we can still be good friends. Jin Li, a scum girl, nodded cheerfully, no problem. Lu Zhenjie stood up, looked at Jin Li, and moved his hands. Maybe he wanted to give her a hug, but finally restrained himself. He just gently rubbed the top of her hair, then, good night. For some reason, Jin Li felt a little tenderness and sadness from his actions. It was rare for her to feel such delicate emotions, which made her ears move uncomfortably, and she said awkwardly, good night. Back in the room, Jin Li rarely fell asleep for a second. She rolled around on the bed, got up again and went to the bathroom to soak herself in the bathtub. It's a little annoying. The big silver tail slapped the water unconsciously. Jin Li was a little conflicted and thought, how about just erasing Lu Zhenjie's memory, so that he doesn't know anything, and he doesn't have to worry about it. But thinking about it this way, she shook her head again, feeling a little bit reluctant. Lu Zhenjie is a nice human being. After knowing that she was a little fairy, she didn't show any greedy desire for things. And no matter how big-hearted Jinli was, she had to admit from the bottom of her heart that no matter how chic and happy her life was since she came into this world, she was still lonely at heart. No one knows the real her, and no one really understands what she thinks and wants. But now, there is one more person who knows that she is not by Jinli, that she is a little fairy from heaven, and that she wants to go home. He didn't harbor any dirty desires for her. This is extremely rare. It was hard to get, and she was a little reluctant to erase this part of the memory. Jinli called Lan Ting. Jinli, the other party's voice was very happy. You finally rang and called me. Lan Ting chatted with her. Jinli was not at home these days, and she did not live in the small villa, but went out to play for a few days. Let me tell you, I met a few former friends, and everyone envied me, ha ha ha, they are all your fans, and they want me to help you get autographs. Also, MRS it's super hot, you can see it everywhere. Jinli listened to her rambling about some interesting things recently, and her restless mood gradually calmed down. Lan Ting talked for a while before realizing that Jinli called herself. Ah, I'm so happy to say that, what's the matter with you, Jinli? Jinli said yes, Lu Zhenjie confessed to me again tonight. Bang! There was the sound of something falling to the ground. Jinli? What's wrong with you? She asked. A voice came from Lan Ting's side. Ah, it's okay, I accidentally knocked over the cup. She tried hard to suppress her excited tone. Confession. Lu's father confessed to Jinli. What else can excite a CP fan more than a fan's confession? Lan Ting asked cautiously, then, now, are you two together? Jinli shook her head. No, I don't like him, so I refused. Crash. Lan Ting heard her heartbroken voice. Update completed. Vote, darlings. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 305. She asked cautiously again, Jinli, why did you reject him? Jinli frowned and said, I still don't like him. What other reason could there be? Lan Ting clutched her little heart, feeling so sad that her heart was about to break. Longevity, CP fans are just hot. Is there anything worse than this? Jinli realized later, why, you don't seem to be surprised that Lu Zhenjie confessed to me. Lan Ting, what a surprise. Jinli. Lan Ting was even more surprised than she. Why, Dad Lu, cough, Mr. Lu has made it so obvious, can't you see it? Jinli. Lan Ting was more surprised than she was when she didn't speak. You really don't know? Jinli shook her head innocently, thinking that Lan Ting couldn't see it, and said again, I really didn't feel it. Lan Ting. She said a little tiredly, he is a billionaire who registered a Weibo account for you, gave up work to visit the set, invested in the crew for you, and became the father of the entire crew. Longevity noodles, do you think this is really some kind of bloody fans chasing idols? Jinli was dumbfounded. Lan Ting, our fan base is secretly guessing when you two will be able to cultivate. Well, who knows? Who knew that King Xiang had a dream, but the goddess had no heart? Finally, Lan Ting said, you'd better have some snacks, Jinli. Jinli was completely in a daze. How did she know that there are so many twists and turns in human hearts? When she was in heaven, there were so many gods who confessed to her. If he refused, he let go gracefully, and found a new immortal partner after many thousands of years. But there is no second confession. Lu Zhenjie's attitude has been too normal for a while. So normal, she thought the two were really just good friends. When Jinli was in a daze, Lan Ting called again. The opening was an apology, I'm sorry, Jinli, I was a little harsh just now. Jinli. Lanting said, I found that my tone is a bit biased. In fact, who you like and who you reject is your own freedom. Just follow your own heart and don't care about other people's opinions. Even if you are a CP fan, you can't force people to be together, right? Although she also likes Papalu very much, she still likes Little Fairy the most. No matter what, Jinli is happy. Others, if you feel wronged, feel wronged. Lanting's call came in a timely manner. The unreserved love from the fans just soothed Jinli's somewhat dazed mood. She leaned against the bathtub and fell asleep in a daze. When he woke up the next morning, Jinli saw a refreshed Lu Jianzhen. When she saw Jinli, she had a smile on her face, and beckoned to her, Jinli, come here. Jinli walked over. Lu Jianzhen took her hand and sat beside him, full of confidence. I had a dream last night, which will give me a lot of inspiration. I will go to the studio after dinner, and I always feel that I will definitely not appear again this time. Jinli smiled and said, it will be fine this time. While talking, Lu Zhenjie also came out. Jinli was a little dazed when he saw him, not sure how to treat him. Lu Zhenjie was very natural, good morning sister, good morning Jinli. It's as if the confession was rejected last night, and it didn't happen at all. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 306. Jinli thought for a while, followed his attitude, and replied good morning. Lu Jianzhen looked at the two of them, something was wrong. Worse than yesterday. After dinner, Lu Jianzhen said to send Lu Zhenjie to work. When she went to the garage, she asked Lu Zhenjie, I think there's something wrong with Jinli. After I fell asleep yesterday, did something happen that I don't know? Lu Zhenjie frowned, is it so obvious? Lu Jianzhen, what really happened? Lu Zhenjie, I confessed my confession last night, but Jinli refused. Lu Jianzhen, gone. Lu Zhenjie, put away your gossiping eyes, it's gone. Lu Jianzhen said disapprovingly, didn't I tell you before that Jinli wasn't enlightened, so I told you not to be too impatient. She could see that Jinli was not the kind of girl who would compromise. If it wasn't for her liking, she would never have agreed to Lu Zhenjie's confession now. Lu Zhenjie was silent for a moment. He originally thought so too, take your time. However, time waits for no one. Lu Jianzhen. But Lu Zhenjie didn't answer him, he took a long leg and left. Lu Jianzhen could only pack his mind and go back. Jinli was eating a fruit plate. Seeing Lu Jianzhen come back, she greeted her and asked casually, sister, have you finished chatting with Lu Zhenjie? Lu Jianzhen was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, do you know what we talked about? Jinli whispered, I can't guess completely, but it's about the same. Lu Jianzhen was funny, then tell me, what did we talk about? Jinli, I rejected Lu Zhenjie's confession last night. Lu Jianzhen was taken aback, I thought you wouldn't be a girl who thinks about these things. Jinli puffed up her face. She just seldom paid attention to these things, which didn't mean she really couldn't see clearly. Lu Jianzhen's expression was already obvious. Moreover, Jinli said this for a reason. She asked very schemingly, sister, what did Lu Zhenjie tell you? What kind of attitude do you think I will face him in the future? She doesn't want to lose this friend. After all, the other party is good looking and can cook, so he really treats me very well. But if this incident made him very concerned and unhappy, Jinli felt that he should erase this memory of him. Even, simply, to erase all his memories about himself. Jinli was thinking to himself, but Lu Jianzhen smiled inwardly after being dazed. She thought, her silly brother, the hard work for so long is still somewhat useful. Jinli's ability to ask this sentence at least proved that Lu Zhenjie still had some status in her heart. Even if it has nothing to do with love, at least it is not a stranger without a trace. Otherwise, she wouldn't be bothered by it. What attitude? A normal attitude is fine, Lu Jianzhen said. She walked over and touched the top of Jinli's hair. Silly girl, you don't have to think too much. Let's not talk about it. My brother is not a man who regards feelings as everything. Even if he is, it has nothing to do with you. You are so beautiful and have such a good personality. There are so many people who like you in the world. Before, now, and even in the future, many people will confess to you. You are destined to disappoint many people. Do you want to? Can you give me an explanation? Jinli, hey. It seems to make sense. Lu Jianzhen said earnestly, emotions, as long as the two are not happy together, any unrequited love is just a unilateral matter of one of them. It has nothing to do with you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 307. Jinli blinked. Is that so? She asked. Lu Jianzhen nodded. As a matter of course it is. Jinli then felt relieved. Sister, go and draw, she said to Lu Jianzhen, and she relaxed. Seeing this, Lu Jianzhen was relieved. That little bastard Lu Zhenjia asked him to persuade Jinli not to think about it. I haven't seen a gift, but it's true that she is always asked to do things. He is really his own brother. Lu Jianzhen went to the studio. Lu Zhenjia had to go to work during the day. If the servants are fine, they will never appear in front of the master to disturb others. Jinli was the only one left in Nyoda's manor. She wandered around quite bored, and she was very eager to see the artificial hot spring in the backyard, but finally chose to give up. The hot spring is too hot, it will wrinkle the skin of the little fairy fish. Jinli went back to her bedroom and turned on her phone. Not surprisingly, Lanting shared n more messages with her. Link hashtag if you haven't watched this drama, you are really outdated hashtag. Link hashtag the #1 beauty in those TV dramas, if you meet her, you will be willing to bow down. Hashtag. Link hashtag absolutely conscientious domestic dramas, how many of them have you watched? Hashtag. Jinli opened them one by one. There are all kinds of tweets related to MRS Gene. Among them, some of them must be marketing accounts, but there are also some who really promote the drama with conscience. Although the contents of these things were always those things, and the soup was not changed, Jinli didn't find it boring. On the contrary, he watched it with relish. Especially those links who praised He Lanmingji, played by Jinli, as worthy of being the #1 beauty. Seeing people praise the beauty of the little fairy in the prosperous age, I really can't get tired of watching it 100 times. Jinli lit them one by one. She thought about Lanting saying that MRS Gene is so popular now. She had an idea in her mind. Jinli little fairy, Lanting, are you busy now? Shall we go out to eat together? Lanting : Aren't you at MRS Lu's house? Jinli little fairy, I'm fine today, I have time, how about you? Lanting: I'm fine. Lanting instantly shut down a group of friends who were discussing whether to go to XX together today. Joke. How can spending time with you guys compare to going to the delicious food with the little fairy? Take a sip of the little fairy's face, you can smirk, but it's a whole day of fun. As an increasingly versatile life assistant, Lanting's professional ability improved rapidly, so she quickly set a time and place, and asked Jinli for her opinion. Of course Jinli was fine. She made an appointment with Lanting to meet at a certain place, and rejected Lanting's suggestion to pick her up by car. She changed into a new skirt that she hadn't worn, and twirled around beautifully in the mirror a few times. Since the little treasure house can be opened, the little fairy has many, many beautiful new dresses and new jewelry. Those skirts can become the styles that everyone in the human world wears, and they look good no matter how you wear them. Jinli asked the manor's driver to take him to a place. The driver didn't ask any reason, because Madame said that if Miss Jinli needed anything, they would just do it. After getting out of the car, Jinli looked down at his surroundings, cast a spell on himself, and entered the subway station. She was going to experience for herself whether Mrs. Jean was really that popular. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 308. Less common models have attracted a lot of attention. Jinli glanced out the car window, then gently reached out and tapped his forehead. Soon, those who were looking in this direction were taken aback for a moment, and then turned their gazes away as if nothing had happened. Concealment, perfectly reducing the sense of existence, a must for travel. Jinli carried her bag and walked in the subway station. Such a glamorous and unparalleled star and beauty was unconsciously ignored by everyone. In the subway at this time, it is impossible to have a seat if you want a seat. Even if it is a little ferry, it is impossible to have a seat. Although Jinli felt a little uncomfortable being squeezed in the middle, it was not too unbearable. She looked around curiously, and her mind moved. Observed. It really made her see a lot of things. In the carriage she was in alone, there were no less than 10 people watching Mrs. Jean with their mobile phones. Consciousness stretched a bit, on the entire subway, someone who was watching Mrs. Jean. Before Jinli had time to conclude, someone pulled her hand unexpectedly. She stared back and saw a face half covered by a black baseball cap. The chin is beautifully curved, the lip color is extremely light, and you can feel the air conditioning on the subway. Long Hao didn't use any concealment technique. He stood aside in a low-key way before, and he had already attracted many people's scrutiny because of his outstanding appearance. Here, he openly pulling on the subway attracted even more people's scrutiny. Those people saw Jinli by the way. Jinli. After the concealment technique is over, it will fail. The essence of this technique is to make people ignore themselves, not blind people. If others saw her through other influences, wouldn't the little fairy be recognized? With his current popularity, if he is recognized, wouldn't he be on the top of the list? And you will be blocked and unable to get out? She was told by Lan Ting not to reveal her whereabouts as much as possible. In desperation, Jinli took a look at Long Hao's handsome face, and plunged into Long Hao's arms when the people around him whispered, "This man looks familiar." Long Hao. Before he could react, a thin voice came from his ear, "You don't want me to be recognized here, do you?" Long Hao glanced around with a cold and sharp gaze, endured it, and still endured it. He let Jinli hold him stiffly, and under the gossip of everyone in the carriage, he arrived at the next stop. Then he dragged Jinli's hand and walked out along the flow of people. There is a huge flow of people getting on and off the bus, and no one pays attention to them. Jinli breathed a sigh of relief, found a pillar to stand on, and added a new concealment technique to himself and Long Hao. Then she felt her hand being thrown away in disgust. "Jinli, is it your luck to be able to touch the little hands of Koi? The kind that can win the first prize if you go to draw any prize now? What does this disgusting gesture mean?" Long Hao crossed his arms and looked at her coldly. "You are a big star, what kind of subway do you take, and you will be recognized by fans at that time, is it interesting to have an accident?" Speaking of Jinli, she was angry, and she glared at him, "You're so kind. If you hadn't pulled me, would I be afraid of being recognized?" Jinli pointed to herself, and then to Long Hao, "Look at the two of us standing here, is anyone looking at us? To be honest, I also want to touch Jinli's little hands. Good night, big babes, vote, big babes. Mua. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 309. Long Hao felt the wonderful energy fluctuations on his body, and he probably understood that this should be a small means to reduce the sense of existence. Jinli asked him back, "You are such a powerful head of the special team of the Supervision Bureau, why do you want to come out and take the subway?" Long Hao said concisely, "Save money." Jinli: "Save money? Is the economy of your country so tight?" Long Hao didn't mean to explain to her, and asked again, "I'm pulling you because I felt the wave of someone using special power on the subway." He said sternly, "According to Article 87 of the National Security Regulations of Huiguo's Security Department, any special personnel shall not use force without reason in public, affecting the normal operation of public affairs, and—" Jinli's head got a little dizzy. She raised her eyebrows, "I don't seem to be one of you." Long Hao: "As long as your ID card is a citizen of Huiguo, you must abide by the regulations. If your ID card is not a citizen of our country, you will be subject to stricter supervision." Jinli: She beeped softly, "Anyway, no one will know." Long Hao said coldly, "Am I not human?" He continued, "Moreover, the moment you just used energy, all the detection equipment of the Divine Supervision Bureau can detect changes in the magnetic field. This will cause you to radiate everything in a circle within 200 kilometers. Temporary instability of signal receiving equipment." Jinli: "What are you saying?" Long Hao glanced at her, "It doesn't matter if you don't understand, as long as you know you can't do it." Jinli, who inexplicably became a scumbag, didn't know what was going on, but as a little fairy who didn't like to make trouble, she thought about it and nodded, "That's fine, I will use it less if it is not necessary in the future." Less use, not no use. Long Hao glanced at him, contacted the Taoist Association for information, and said nothing. He asked again, "You were on the subway just now, why did you use your strength?" Jinli said honestly, "I want to see how many people are watching MRS Gene on the subway." Long Hao. There was a break in his indifferent expression, "Just for this?" "Yes," Jinli replied very straightforwardly. Long Hao took a serious look at Jinli, and was silenced for a moment by the righteousness on her face. He finally gave Jinli a call. "If you want to look up these things in the future, call and we'll tell you. Don't do this again." After he finished speaking, he turned and left. "The back is still very lonely." Jinli looked at the business card in her hand and muttered, "Isn't this what the netizens said?" She found it on Weibo before, and a netizen casually said, "If you want to know how popular the TV series is, don't look at the data released by the media, just look at how many people are watching it on the subway." She just saw it and remembered it in her heart. But since Long Hao said it, she didn't do it anymore, she just walked out of the subway exit and took a taxi. This time Jinli was not recognized by the driver. But before she reached the place, Lan Ting said, "The other party called her." "Ha ha ha Jinli, let me tell you, just now a netizen posted a photo on Weibo, saying that he saw a man who looked like you on the subway, and was hugging a handsome guy with a strange face. How could you take the subway?" Jinli: "Unfortunately, it was really me." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 310. Lan Ting didn't hear Jinli's voice, so she was a little surprised. "Hello? Jinli, can you hear me? I'm talking." Jinli pouted, "I see, I'll be there in 10 minutes. After finishing speaking, he hung up the phone. Lan Ting. When she saw Jinli, she would know what the faint frustration in Jinli's tone meant. She stared at Jinli's beautiful little dress with wide eyes, and compared it with her phone. The comment pointed to by the finger just stays at. Is there any kind lady to share the link? This dress is so beautiful. That's right. Pink. Spun yarn. Knee length. Lace up sandals. Perfect match. Lan Ting. So, not someone like Jin Li. It's Jin Li herself. Lan Ting's eyes widened with a swish, and she looked up and down at Jin Li, who was sitting opposite her, like a searchlight, and asked gossipingly, "You really came here by subway today? You're so brave. You're holding me. Who is that man? I can't see his face clearly, but he looks good in figure. He looks handsome from the side." She thought for a while, and added, "Is Mr. Lu handsome?" "It can be said to be a very loyal YLICP powder." Jin Li said, unhappy, "It's just an acquaintance. We're not friends, and we don't have a good relationship." She emphasized one sentence, "Not as handsome as Lu Zhenjie." Lan Ting breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Jin Li like this, he probably had nothing to do with this inexplicable man. The crisis from the CP party has passed, and the desire to gossip has risen again. After ordering the meal, Lan Ting continued to chat on Weibo. Jin Li also saw that Weibo. Admitting is impossible. At this time, you can pretend to be dead. Anyway, she used the concealment technique, and threw herself into Long Hao's arms before others took pictures of her. Without showing his face, netizens have no evidence to doubt. But the netizens didn't know. It didn't mean that Lu Zhenjie didn't know. As a qualified face fan, Ba Zong's trumpet is always active on the front line, and always pays attention to all news related to Jin Li. The moment he saw that Weibo post, Lu Zhenjie was 70% sure that it was Jin Li. Fans and idols are always separated by the camera, lacking a sense of reality. But Lu Zhenjie and Jin Li are people who meet often and currently live under the same roof. He had seen and was very familiar with the real Jin Li. But Lu Zhenjie didn't confirm right away, but called the servant at home to ask if Jin Li was at home and what clothes he was wearing today. The servant replied very honestly, "Miss Jin Li went out around noon, and she seems to be wearing a pink dress today." That's it? Lu Zhenjie's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He no longer wondered why Jin Li took the subway. Who is that man? Lu Zhenjie was sure he didn't know him. He never forgets in his memory, but it's not too bad. If he had seen a man who could be treated differently by Jin Li, he would never forget it. It was obvious that Jin Li was no stranger to his intimate gesture. But from his understanding, Jin Li didn't know such a man. Who is the one? With a sullen face, Lu Zhenjie opened a mailbox. "Go and look it up, the man in the photo." Click send. The opponent's efficiency has always been very fast. The fastest data collection for Lu Zhenjie took less than 10 minutes. But this time, there was no news for more than an hour. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zhaji. Chapter 311. No news. Are you sure? The voice on the other side of the phone was flat and silent. "Yes, sir, I can't find any information. The other party is someone who cannot be reached by our current means." Lu Zhenjie hung up the phone and fell into deep thought. He didn't embarrass this subordinate because he knew his ability. The person that even he couldn't find out was definitely a top-secret person whose confidentiality was marked as SSS level in the National Archives. If Lu Zhenjie had to investigate regardless, he would probably be able to find out in the end. But this is bound to attract the attention of some people above. Lu Zhenjie has always been a law-abiding businessman. The fact that the Lu family was able to grow up to this extent in his hands and not be feared by the higher UPS was because his hands were quite clean and he knew how to measure. Proportion has always been the most difficult thing to handle. By this time, besides being angry, Lu Zhenjie was even more worried about Jin Li. Does she know who this man is? Would it be dangerous for her to be with him? Lu Zhenjie frowned, remembering Jin Li's identity again. The Koi fairy should not be in any danger, but he was still worried. While Boss BA was struggling here, actor Wen Jiming, who was on vacation somewhere, also got this news. When he saw the photo, he jumped up from the comfortable hammock. Everyone is guessing, who is that handsome guy in a baseball cap, but Wen Jiming doesn't need to guess. Isn't that Ahau? Ahau is in a relationship? After confirming that the man in the photo was Ahau, it was very likely that the girl in his arms was Jinli. After all, Wen Jiming had seen the bracelet on Jinli's hand before. He bit the straw, moved his fingers quickly, and sent the screenshot to Long Hao. Just finished his mission and returned home, Long Hao's cell phone rang after taking a shower and getting ready for a good night's sleep. He frowned slightly, but still nodded. Seeing the message box with the remark text pop up, his frowning brows were quietly released. Text: the people above are you and Jinli, right? Long Hao, who usually doesn't play Weibo very much, looked at the photo of himself that was secretly taken. He thought coldly in his heart, sure enough, celebrities are troublesome. Ahau, yes. After going back, he thought about it and added another sentence. I have nothing to do with her. When Jiming paused while typing, looked at the "Are you and Jinli in love" that hadn't been sent in the input box, paused, and then deleted it. Text: oh. Ahau, yes. The dialogue is a bit dry. But Wen Jiming didn't find it strange either. Long Hao is a person who can't chat. The daily conversations between the two were almost all initiated by Wen Jiming, and ended in a concise and clear way. After so many years, Wen Jiming got used to it. He took a few photos of the surrounding area with his mobile phone, took a selfie of himself, and sent it to Long Hao. I'm vacationing on XXXX island, no manager is in charge, it's so beautiful. Looking at the person with a bright smile on the photo, Long Hao slightly pulled the corner of his mouth, revealing an unfamiliar smile. Have fun, he said softly. He clicked to save the photo, put the phone next to the pillow, closed his eyes, and fell asleep peacefully. It's not surprising that Wen Jiming didn't wait for his response. He probably understood that today's communication was over, and began to happily share today's happiness with his manager.